I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, Pradeep.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, today we will discuss about the test data service. So till now we have gone through like the other test data things. So we were able to do it with test case design and Excel, and within Tosca itself, the buffers and hard coding the data, static data, we were passing to that particular step. So all those parts, apart from those data, what we would today use is this test data service. And as I've clearly uh, explained yesterday, like even the previous time, like why we use test data. So uh, let's say if we have a common uh, data to be shared across the team members. So this test data service is a major one. Whereas if you see Excel or the test case design, so in test case design, yes, we can share the data, but then we cannot write any data to the test case design. And in an Excel, yes, we can read and write data, but then that Excel has to be in a common place. Again, that's another thing, right? So, but instead of that, what Tosca provides us is a specific a server. Uh, so uh, this Tosca server, within this Tosca server itself, we would be uh, what we can share the data, whatever we have across the team. So once we install, we get this initial pages, and I have already shown how to install this Tosca server, right? So then the first page, yeah, you would get it here, wherein this is again an interview question. What components or what things you find in Tosca server? So we have distributed executions, wherein we can execute our test case on multiple machines, multiple VMs, or wherever it is there. Instead of one, our own local machine, we can execute it in some server, some distributed machines. That and the test data management, which is what we will discuss, and license management, user management, administration console. Out of this, we are looking for test data management. So in test data management, we have uh, this thing wherein we create like the address we have here, and what is this test data management, wherein we are managing our data that is required for our test case. So what do we get here? We have something called create repository, and all the repositories, whatever is created on that server, whatever we have installed on that server, whatever data repositories have been created, that it shows in this page. So by default, Tosca gives this data default repository. So if you click here, you would see what type of data. So here currently there is no data, or okay, I guess I might have deleted. I'm not sure. Uh, but then by default, you would get some data in here. So like, let's say if you have types of now inside a repository, what do we have? We have something called types, type of data. So add type is what we get. So here there are no types available, meaning there are no tables or no data inside this repository. So if you have to add, you need to click on this add type button, and then we have something called this what name you want to give to your add type. I'll just say something as sample, and then data, how you can add. So there are two things. One, by default, with some import types, you would get it through file or through clipboard. You want to copy paste somewhere, or the samples. So through samples, like names, if you want some names or traffic, let's say names, and then names of international 500 something. So this is coming from Tosca itself, default thing. So we can select this and say add. As soon as you click on the add, you would see a table with sample would be created, and the number of records, if you see 500, because 500 records we had selected. So some name, surname, gender, region, title, some random data is what we would get here. So if you want data in that way, yes, we can get prepare a data quick one in this way, and then we can export, import, or add item. Add item in the sense, again, inside the, so this is our type with how many records, and how many types are there? There's only one. Another type also, if you want, yes, you can write anything. This is sample2, and then import, and yeah, from the file or from somewhere else, yes, you can uh, create. If you from an Excel, right? Okay. So here we can describe. I'll show you that part later. Importing from an Excel. Uh, then yeah, again same way sample. So if you want some other thing, airport or airlines, uh, and then say add. So sample2 with what? How many records? 6159. That many records are there. So that records it is there, and then here different pages. So how many pages you want? 100 pages you want to show the data. So 100 records would be shown in one page, and then pages wise. So if you want to see any other page, yeah, you can go it this way. So this is what some random quick data we can just create. And apart from that, yes, if you want uh, any other data to be created, so what do we have? So sample here we have, but I don't have Excel installed. Okay, yes, I need Excel. Right. Or here, if I can directly import. Let me see. Import this. And copy this location. Tosca Excel, let's say. And then Tosca Excel something. I'll just say add, and then if you see here, username, password, and then this status. So uh, we had that Excel, right? So in that Excel, we had our username, password, and that those things. So this is how we can import an Excel, that file to our test data repository. So, and then you can just edit, add the number of records over there, and then upload it here, or explicitly you can click on add item, and then you would get a record, and then here you can add another username, password, another record, right? So keep on adding one by one if you want, based on your requirement. I'd say P1 or one, and status new, something like this. So I can, like this, I can add records, the test data for our test case. So in the repository, and then you can like same way import or export, import the file same way, or export. So let's say you want to export this 500 data. Once whatever table is there, you want to export it, click on this export, and in CSV or Excel or JSON, whatever you want, you can do it. I will select Excel, let's say, and then in Excel I can click on export. So by default, in the default location, it gets downloaded. So if you open that Excel would contain this columns, this rows, and this columns, like that. So this is how a Tosca test data service looks like. This all are the options that are available. So what you can do is, if you want any specific thing, click on this create repository. If you don't want to use a default one, by default, yes, click on this repository, give the repository name. So the repository name I would give, let's say, what, some demo. And then type, yes, SQLite. We have all these options, but majorly we use SQLite. So let this be default one only. And the location, yes, default location, we are fine with it. And then only thing is this test connection, the local, all that server is correct or not. We don't have to check, but yeah. Description about your repository. What I'm preparing this repo for my demo, something like this. Any description with which you would be able to understand. So click here, and as soon as you say, you would be into that repository. So if you go see here, demo is your repository that you have created, and the description shows here. And you can delete, you can edit again if you have anything. Click here, and then it would navigate again the tables. So tables you can again create the same way. If you have that Excel, basically what we do is, yes, once a repository is created, we click on add, and then we already would have Excels for the test data. Test data would be in that Excel format, and that Excel we will upload it here. Once we upload it here, the data would come here, and then from here we would be taking it forward. So this is how we do. So any doubt till now on this part? I know this is completely new, but it is also important. Nowadays, people are asking about this test data repository. So I would take time in making you understand this stuff. So let's go slowly on this part, because this is a major one, I would say, for data to be passed from for our Tosca. So any doubts till now? Okay, I'll take this silence as no.
Yeah, Pradeep. So while creating the Tosca commander, while creating the repository, if we select there instead of SQLite, if any other thing we were selected, not here, when we create the Tosca command.
Mm,
So sorry.
Tosca command.
No, there also we used to give the
Okay,
SQLite.
okay. That one, yeah. Even that is a different way. So that repository, it can be of a different part, but that doesn't mean there if you have SQLite, here also we need to select SQLite. SQLite is kind of just a light repository wherein it is preferred more, and like you won't find much issues or this thing with that particular repository. We also have Oracle, we have also other repositories, but yeah, in whichever repository for that organization, whatever is feasible, whatever is available, they would uh, create the project in that repository, and then uh, uh, they would use it. So it's nowhere related to what repository you select and what you carry
Okay,
on.
I thought you have given SQLite in the same places, so I thought
No,
there
no,
will be a
it is not
match.
like no, no. So
Okay.
even if it is not repository and if it is a local, no, none of the workspace, none is there's an option called none, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so even if you select that none and then do it, yeah, you would be able to connect to local this server, and even in that none workspace, which means single user workspace, you would be able to interact with the server. It is nowhere like you have selected SQLite, then only you also have to have here SQLite and then connect it. It is nowhere related to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay then. So we'll just jump on to our test case. Yeah, this has let's create another called. Now this is TDS or test data service. So in this, now we will try to create the test cases. Okay. So how we can create the test case? What we'll do is, let's create a normal test case again. What to say? TDS one. I'm unable to think of a proper names, but yeah, meaningful names you have to give it to your test case. So in the test case, what is the first one? Now, if you see by default, when you have got the default that standard subset, so go to your modules, standard modules, which is coming from subset. So you would have a folder called test data service. So this is what we get. So in test data service, we have this module. So these are the modules by default available, provided by Tosca, so that we can now interact with this particular server with the help of this. So what all modules are available? You see, find and provide, create and provide, update, move item, delete, import, export, update, expert module. So we have all these modules. We would be using all these modules, and with the help of these modules, we will be able to interact and get the data, write the data to that server, tedious thing. So first thing is what we will use. We will use is create and provide new item. Let's say we will pick this one. So in this, what all we have to give? We have existing or new TDS type, then alias name, and then the data structure. So, and then the entries. So I will just pick this, click, drag and drop onto my test case. And here, yeah, I've got this. Now, if you see, some action modes have been set. So, which means input. So for sure, we need to give this data, this value, but the other one is an optional. So it's not mandatory. Alias. What is alias generally? So first thing, existing or new TDS type. So TDS type, let's say we would give give something. So I will create what for TDS one, I will just say. So I'm creating a new TDS type because we don't have created, we have not created any new TDS type, right? So let's say it's everything is empty. TDS we have not created. I want to create it from Tosca. We can come here, create and give that data and then use it. But for now, just showing how we can completely from scratch create the TDS type. So I'll give that TDS type an alias name, since what an alias name is. Let's say if this name is something kind of big one, and then again and again using the same name, bigger name, uh, instead of that we call something called alias, right? What
It
name?
is generically it is called as nickname, right, Pradeep?
Nickname,
Like
correctly,
yeah,
nickname. Yeah, it can be related to that. So if it is what demo application for my test case, something that value is there, so it is so big, and every time if you want to refer, we need to give that name. Instead of that, we will say a demo one, demo m1, something like that. We can uh, parse that name to this thing, and then we can point dm1 dot whenever we say, so it points to this repository only. For now, I'll just keep this empty. So in the data structure, now if you see, enter new TDS attribute and a value. So in here, now inside this, so we have to give TDS attribute and the value. So if you see TDS attribute, meaning uh, uh, the column names, they were the column names and then the values. So here we have, we can create new TDS attributes. So column name, I'll say I would have what, mm, so we did some registration, right? In registration, we have something called first name, uh, and then last name, and then gender, something like that, right? Or age, let's say age, gender and age. So this way, and then the values of those. So first name I'll give uh, P1, D1. So let's say 30. I'll give this way, and now, yeah. So whatever data we wanted to create. So what we want to achieve is there should be a TDS type with TDS1 in this repository to be created, and the column names should be first name, last name, age, and the values should be this P1, D1, 30. So that values I want to create that as a table in this repository. So if we just once create it and execute it, you see what would happen. Generally, it would get failed. And now, if you see the failure reason, so if you see failure reason, why it is getting failed. If you see here, the setting or test configuration parameter test data repository was not found. Meaning, so when you see your repository, so on your server, if you see repository, there are what multiple repositories, right? So if you have hundreds and thousands of repository again, so which one are you pointing to? Are you saying that one in your test case somewhere when you are creating data? Tosca doesn't know in which repository you should be creating this this tedious type, this table, this data. So Tosca, until and unless you say it, Tosca won't know. So that is where Tosca is asking what should be the test data repository. So what we can do is here, right click, and then we need to create test configuration parameter and with a name called test data repository, and that we have to pass. That we haven't said it. So how we can say what we have is we have something called configurations. Inside this configurations test data service. So test data service related by default, Tosca gave us this two things. So these two things, when it has given, what we can do is we can click this, drag and drop onto our test case itself. So if we just see this, as soon as you click here in the test configuration parameter, yes, you would have this uh, two things. One is test data repository, another one is test data endpoint. Now let's say it was the error, if you see, it was looking for the test configuration parameter called test data repository. So test data repository is already there, and then here we need to mention, specify which test data repository. So you have data, you have demo. Which one do you want? I want to create that in demo. So what I will do is copy this, same name. Better to copy instead of writing because you may make mistakes while typing. So copy paste the same repository name. So now I've got the repository. Now would I be able to execute? We just see what would happen. So it has again failed. Why? If you see invalid URI, the format of the URI could not be determined. Meaning when you are giving a repository, we don't know, or the Tosca doesn't know where the server is installed at what port. So while installation, we were giving some port, right? 8080, 81, kind of that detail, and some other ports. So that too, even that we have to specify in Tosca. So here, what do we have? So if you see the sample one that Tosca would give, so it would be this way. So it's HTTP, then localhost, and the test data service. But then here, if you see, we have installed. So by default, let's see if it takes the default. Because we know we have installed in localhost only and on this server. But then I think, oh yeah, it is working. So if you see here, click now, test case has been executed and everything was green, which means it was successfully executed. Now, if you come here, see inside this, see a test data type TDS1 has been created with these columns. So what I was actually looking for, it might also ask you for the port default, the port number where we have installed. Like we had did it on 81, this thing, right? So even this way, we should be able to. So we need to specify the port as well. Like this is in our local, yeah, we give that local host and kind of that one. But uh, when we are working in a project in some environment, there what we have to do is See error while trying to get no connection. So it's not on 81. Then it might be default 8080. Is it the port? So in project wise, yes, we would have that thing. So yeah, it is executed, right? So we just refresh it now. You see, another record has been added with the same thing. So it is what localhost and then 80 and then this thing.
But
So if you
Pradeep,
see,
earlier one was executed without giving the port number.
yes, it was. By default, it is considering 80 as the port. So you see, even that detail, if you add on the web address, yes, it is pointing to that repository, to the test data service. And then from there, it is, if you see here, so this localhost test data service, this by default, it is interpreting as 80. And then since it is 80 on a default port, we don't need to specify the port. Even if you're not specifying, by default, it is taking 80. But then if it is not on 80, if it is on 81, if it is on 9090, some other port number, so that port numbers, yes, you have to define it in here after colon and then this thing. So if you don't specify this thing as well, it is taking just 80. So if you click open this URL, you would see that API service. This is what? So default repository, you see default repository, and the name is data, type is SQLite, link is this one. So with this link, the data would be present inside uh, this one. You see, we had created 501 sample and then sample 2 with this, and Tosca Excel we have created. Same way our demo thing, you have 2 records, right? So that API, if you want, the API is localhost colon 5001 and then test data service slash demo. So if you just open this one, you see we have created TDS1, and there are 2 records inside that. So now if you want to see the data what is present in TDS1, this is the link. So click here and come here, and if you see, you are getting that data. So TDS1 category, you see first name, first name value is this, last name value is this, and age. Same way another one, first name, last name. So that this in the form of API is what the data is getting displayed. Uh, so with this, we are now able to interact with our Tosca server and what all things we need. So in the interview, you need to explain when they ask about have you used test data service? Can you explain when they ask? Everything, each and everything in detail, you just try to explain everything, so that even they would get an idea. Okay, this person has an idea, proper hands-on, and I has an idea on this topic. So because this topic is again main, so it is with this it would show that you have proper knowledge on this part. So we need test data repository first. So we need 2 things: test data repository and the endpoint repository, on which repository we want to interact with, and then the endpoint. If it is local, we need to give it this way. But if it is on some server, so whoever has installed, whoever has that detail, they would provide us the the server test data server address is so and so. So that so and so thing we need to add it here with slash test data service. So if you click and open, we need to get this sort of page. It shouldn't say no page found or something. If we have given, it shouldn't say like when you enter something, yeah, the localhost page cannot found. So if you get this one, if you are entering the same thing, then even Tosca would not be able to interact with that server because the address that you have given is not correct. So whatever address is there, first check in the browser if it is giving fine or not. So that way we can, what now we are able to interact with the server. So any doubt in this part?
No, Pradeep.
To you, Nawaz?
No,
Is
Pradeep.
it right? I hope it is clear. Uh, so if we just do the other things, if we see, so creation, yes, we did it. Now let's say what all modules. We have something called find and provide as well. Let's check what module it is, what it gives. So click on this, find and provide. So you see existing TDS type. So we are saying find and provide an item. So uh,
Yeah, one thing, Pradeep. So here from the Tosca itself, you are creating one record in the repository, right? One kind of
yes,
data.
yes.
But you are only creating the data, not the repository from the Tosca.
Right. So repository, we need to have it by default. We need to create.
Explicitly, we
That
have
is
to
the
create it.
prerequisite. Yeah, you can say.
Okay.
Repository has to be created explicitly, and then to that repository we need to point, and then on that repository is what we can work. So all these modules, whatever are have been given, is against a particular repository, and that repository, if you specify, then only it works on that repository.
Okay.
Yeah. So also the same thing, what you can do is here you can randomly also create some datas, right? So I'll say what? So instead of this static data every time creation, we can use our random functions. So I'll say this random regex uh, with 5 characters I want for the first name, and then similarly for last name as well. We want, and then for age would want some random number within the age limits, right? So I would say, or upper limit, lower limit. Instead of this, I can even give just uh, the 2-digit character like this. So this way, now every time when you run this test case, you see what would happen. I've executed. So random datas on our here, every time when you execute, that sort of data would be created. So every time same data it won't create. If you see here, there are two same data, right? But now it is this data. Now next time when you run, again another set of data. So like this, if you want, you can do, or you can put some loops as well, repeat those particular kind of thing, and then create some data based on your requirement. So here it is what doing this way. So like this, you can just add some random data. Now let's say I want to find first thing. So I'll just say this one as P2 just to differentiate, which is fine. So now in existing, we can do it this way, or let's say if you want to just delete as well, select, click on that particular record, and you have something called delete this record. So only 3 records, only these things are available. So we can even do this. And there's something called lock unlock button. What are this lock unlock? So if I click this lock thing, now from Tosca or from somewhere, whoever is there, if they want, if they are modifying the data, if we lock it, this particular set of data would not be able to modified, and because there's a lock thing. So if someone mistakenly, if they were what editing something, but that data is something kind of secure, and we don't want by mistake this particular data shouldn't be edited. So if we have that one, we can just put a lock on that particular record, and we can make it secure, stop it from updating mistakenly. So if you try to access that particular
In the
record
same
and
way, we
do
can
it.
log the whole table as well, Pradeep.
Whole table, I'm not sure, Nawaz. Lock all. So lock all in the sense, yes, it would lock all the records. So it is again, yeah, same way, for locking the whole table.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So we can also we are unable to delete the logged one, right?
Oh, yeah, correct. You see, I'm clicking on this and trying to delete, but it is not. But this one, let's say I want to delete, click here, you would get delete option. You can delete like that. So now all these things in general, day to day, even I won't be using it, but while I'm exploring, only thing is, yes, I'm exploring. That is where I'm getting a few of these things. So
Can we
what
arrange this data, Pradeep?
arrange in the sense?
I just want to
Uh,
reorder.
okay. Yeah, in that case, just click here, reorder, or by default, it does in this way. I'm not sure for the
Because if there are
reorder,
thousands of record, just for when
right?
I visit it, I want my data in the top.
Right. I don't know if that is there, or by default Tosca would sort it in some specific order. Now that is where after sorting here we have something called sort by some things. We can get that. But here viewing and only data that you have created. If a specific name you have created, you can even search here. I want only records with P1 uh, uh, detail. So only P1 related records have been shown. So if there are same way with person age with 30, so we get this, or 3 if I just say, so 3 3 3 like that, so it would sort filter it in that way. So just for viewing, you if you want, you can use this search. Okay,
Yeah.
so now what I was looking for, I just unlock it as phone. Existing type. Now if you say existing type for this repository, earlier we were not getting any options because we haven't linked the data endpoint and the data repository and the endpoint. Now since we have linked and we were able to access now in the suggestions as well for the existing type, what all types are available. If you see there's only one. Now if you just create another type, uh, uh, so from Excel I will take, okay, import the data from here. It takes a while sometimes, and then click on add. So another data would be added, right? So this thing data has been added. Now if you just see here in the options, you see another test data type has been added. So this is how it is coming. This is coming from that link that we have set, and through APIs, it is reading. As soon as you create this in the API section here, uh, here, so here, under this, we have gone through this tedious one, right? If you see here where that data is, it is demo, and demo wala is this thing. So in this, we have this one. So this is what this names. Tosca is reading from this API, and this names are being shown here. So if you create another one, another record would be added, and that in that API, that JSON, this thing, it would show here, and then even that TDS type would be shown here. So which TDS type you want to point out to? I'll say I want TDS uh, TDS Excel, let's say. In Excel, what do we have? So we have username, password, and then the status. So I have this, and so what I'll do is by default, I'll just say new. I'll just give some identification. So I'll just say these are all my new records, just an identification, something you can write it, but I'm giving it this way. So all I have is now new record, or let's say two are new record, one is uh, used, something like that. Now if you want to just see filter, click on this, so you can just filter with new and then use, or again if you just filter with similar these things, so you can filter the data based on any columns, or you can even search, I just want new records, what all available. So there are, it shows here only two things because there are two new records in this particular table. So that way we can see it. And now here in filter, what I would say is filter it with status as a new one. I'll see if Tosca Excel TDS type has status with new. I'm just trying to find this one. So I'll just right click and run. So let's say, see what it gives us. It gives us a result. So green in the sense, yes, it was able to find and provide, right? So find the uh, uh, that particular record with the new thing it was able to find. So after finding, the scenarios here would be, once you find, you need to, like, let's say you want what is the username, what or against this username what is the password you want to read, or you just want to read first record, first row, the username or password. So if you want to read, uh, how we can uh, read it. So if I just use, what do I say, uh, for example, if I just have to explain, let's say we have found the record and we want to use some area. So if you see any set buffers we were having, right? Okay, I'll use this set buffers, username and password, for example. I'll paste it here. I just want only these two things. I want to read it from here, right? Let's say I want username and password. Now we have said, okay, in this repository with the status as new, find the uh, uh, username and password. So how we point to that username and password is, here we have curly braces, something called T, D, and this you see TDM, TDS. So TDM is old legacy one. We won't be using TDM, TDS. So if you see TDS, value from TDS repository are read by using attribute names along with the following dynamic expression. So TDS, then type of name and attribute name. Example, customers dot first name, which means the table, whatever the type that we had set, that type dot the column name. So I have TDS. I'll select this TDS, and then inside this we have to set. So inside this, if you see TDS name is Tosca Excel, I will take. So here I'll point to Tosca Excel, and then in Tosca Excel, I want what, username. So U capital with that username, right? So Tosca Excel dot username. So this one. Now individually, if you just try to do TDS Tosca Excel dot username, if you run, you see what happens. ABC it is done. But I believe, okay, is it using through cache or what? In general, what point I wanted to show is directly if you're trying to read the table, only a single, this thing, what, TDS, uh, with this curly braces TDS thing, with this, we used to get an error. I don't know in the latest version if it is been changed or what, but whenever you want to read a record, first you need to find, and then only you can read. So it is what we have to execute both thing at a time. So earlier we used to this way, but I don't know why it has given us that particular thing. So what this Tosca it is doing is, first we have already found the record for which we want to uh, execute. So uh, then we are just reading that particular data. And if you have n number of records with that, what Tosca would do is, it would, so you see a lock item has been placed by default when you are trying to read the status as new and then this thing. So if I just refresh, say this lock would go or not. Yeah, if you refresh, this lock has been removed. So for this test data repository, for this new record, let's say we are pointing to something which is not there, and then we are trying to read, see what happens. See, it has failed and no available test data was found because the constraint, the point with which you are catching and saying, okay, related to this, I want the data. But in that table, there is no such status column with this value. That is why it is failing. So if you keep something which is there, let's say used, and now if you find and do it, okay, I'll see what it gives. I haven't executed the find one, and now TDS Excel dot this thing, if we do, it is still giving. I guess cache is somewhere it is storing, right? I guess, yeah. Once we execute it, something we have cookies in browser, right? Same way Tosca might be doing it that way. But then now if you see, we want status used, and based on that we want to read the username of that used one. So we have to execute both at a time. And now if you execute this one, see what data have we got in our username. We have got Pradeep. Why? Status used, the username is Pradeep. That is how we need to do it. So uh, this is about just uh, reading of that data. So same way for password, if you want,
Pradeep,
I'll
if
say,
there is like two used things, Pradeep, so it will
yes,
retrieve the data for
yeah,
two, like two
no,
requests will be given.
we need to point it. So here, if you see new, now when it was new and when it was doing, so with new there were two records. Out of the two records, when we were asking for uh, Tosca Excel dot username, it was giving the first one, whatever the first one comes in the default sorting location. If you would open this, if you open this one, and then here if you see what is the first one, username ABC. So if there are n number of status with new, if there are multiple, whatever first it comes for Tosca, it would give us that.
Okay.
So that is how it works. And if you want all of that one by one, yes, we can store in some sort of repetitions, so that we can see it later. uh, I will show you here. So same way, Tosca Excel. Don't type it because again you might get some issues, errors in this. You need to check thoroughly if you're typing, if it is in the correct format, correct way or not. And now if it is there, execute it. So with the new record, I want a username and password. So it would give the first one, which is ABC123. It has been executed. ABC and then 123. Okay. We have read the data. And once we have read the data, let's say, so for the same record, we will once it is consumed, let's say our requirement is once the data is read, I want to, again, this data can't be used by anyone else. And then that is where I can change the status or change some other, add another property and then say, okay, if this property is there, this data is being used, already consumed, something like that. If you want to update, how we can do? So we have a module called update item. So click this, select and drag and drop onto your test case. So existing alias uh, name we can give. So our name, it is not showing here, but it is Tosca Excel, right? Tosca Excel. So what you do is instead of again and again writing this thing, this one you can set this in set buffer, my TDS name, and then every time buffer of my TDS name. Wherever you need alias this name, because now here it is Tosca Excel, this thing, and then Tosca Excel here as well, and then Tosca Excel, this thing right here. So if you just later you thought, okay, I don't want to interact with this one, I want to interact with this one, then again you have to manually go in each place, change this to TDS1, and here as well TDS1, TDS1, here as well TDS. So it is again tedious task doing that part. So that is where use buffers, set in the buffer the names of the TDS type for your test case, and every time if you want to change it to something, just change at one location, one place, and use it in all the multiple places referring to that variable. So here I would change this. This is something called status, and I will say it is. I'll say it is used. So if you see here, I'll execute all these three at a time. Finding and then reading. After that, updating that item. So if you see, if I refresh for this new record for ABC, the status should be changed to used. You see, it is now being used. Now, if you just ask again, if we run, so what is the expected? You see, new record is for here. New record is for username Pradeep Dawalji, and then password is this, right? Now, once we executed, you see the values would be for Pradeep Dawalji and then that password. And after reading, we are also updating. After update, you just refresh this page. Now, if you see, you would have all three used items. And now at this point of time, if you try to run the same things, so what you would get? Error. Why? Because no such data. With what constraint are you finding? You are finding with status as new, and there's no such new records. So what you have to do? Go back and create a new record, or don't try to find with that particular with this particular constraint. Don't even try to find with this particular constraint. Just directly find anything and then just change the status to something new or used. See here, now what is being the first value? Every time first value would be given. So with based on no search criteria or the filtering thing, what you are just pointing to the TDS, and inside that TDS I want that tds dot username and that password. So and then we are changing. The next thing is we are updating the first record to use, or I'll say uh, um, here randomly you can do anything, or I'll say used. One more column we can add here. I would say check something, and then executed random number, something like some random thing I'm inputting. That's it. Now, if you see execute this one, you will see some changes on this page. That's what I just want to show. So if you see here now executed, if you refresh, you see another column has been added, and for that record, executed random number 15 has been setting up. So now if you just again execute, it would read only that data because we have not given any other search criteria, no other thing. So I'll just refresh it, and then see executed is being changed to 86. So it is already, so which means it is always pointing to this record because you wanted that one, like first record whatever is there in your tds. But if it is any other data filter, then that is what you just have to specify on what constraint you want to consider the data. uh, so this is how we can just update the record, read and write something onto that data. So any doubts in these things?
No.
It's clear, right? Nawaz, to you?
Yes, Pradeep.
Right. So uh, what we can do is here as well. So you can point to the same uh, so, or I'll just copy this. So here I'll say to this, in this one, I want to randomly generate username, password, and age, and then status as new, let's say, every time. So this is a new record that I'm been creating, and in here I want to, yeah, filter with new only, because the same new I'm creating, and I know I would that record new would be present, and that new record, yes, I would be uh, filtering and finding only that particular record, and then storing username and password for the created ones, and I'll update once it is being used. I just don't want this checks or something. So, or used, or you can say read from Tosca, something. So I will save. Now, if I execute the whole test case, first thing what it would do, it would create and provide. So in create and provide, we are randomly creating. Oh, okay. The column names I haven't changed. Sorry. So could not find because here if you see, so this first name, last name. Actually, I shouldn't have created the first name and last name. It should be while creating. I was giving this one, but this is not that one. I want it as username. I want this as password. Age, if you want, yes, keep it, else leave it. So now if you execute, it creates a new record. Okay, there are two new things, but it is could not find property username, because for this there's no username. I'll just delete this one. Let's delete this one again. I'll write. See, all the things have been done. Now, if you refresh this page, status, it was already created a new, and new was red. And after reading, we changed the status to red from Tosca. And the username is the 6p, password is this. Now, if you see in the username and password where we are buffering, this would be 6p and then that password. After reading, we are changing. If you want to change, if you don't want to change, don't update it and keep using the same record, same thing every now and then. So this is what we can write, create, and do this thing. So again, I'll continue on this for tomorrow. But then anything, any doubts till now, whatever has been explained.
No, Pradeep. But I feel it's too much of fading.
Too much of correct. Exactly. That's what. That is why I would have actually completed it in one day as well, but I don't wanted to do it. So that is why I'm just taking a bit more time and stretching on this, because this is again an important thing, a new one to you, I know. So instead of just doing it in one day, I'll just also sort of carrying it tomorrow. So we have other module wherein we can delete the item to this, and we have something called expert. I would tell how we can use this expert module. So we'll continue this thing again tomorrow on that part. So, but then till now, in case, yeah, I know you have to refer and go through, but as part of understanding, was it clear from first to last, whatever I've explained till now
Yeah, yeah, that is clear.
to you, Nawaz?
Yeah, clear, Pradeep. But we need to
Right.
again go through the video, that's for sure.
Yes, yes. I'll upload this video in the drive as soon as we have done with this. And then yeah, you can practice, go through this session recording, at least here once or twice, and then see what all things uh, you have, what is being confusing. If you can just note down the doubts as well, again tomorrow as soon as we connect, I'll sort that uh, doubts for you, clear all your doubts, and then we'll move on this with this the rest remaining things in this tedious.
Yeah,
Sounds good?
sure. Yeah,
Okay, Pradeep, sure.
Okay, then. Thank you.
yeah. Bye bye.